we're getting ready to leave. As I said, let me back that up. Before we go and get our phones and our identifications, the second guy that I recognized, the one that I do know, he was upstairs in the G5 war room in the 18th HHC. And it's just him sitting at the desk as soon as you go into the vault. And he's got 2 pieces of paper. And he's like, I need you to sign this. And it was an NDA. And I was like, fuck that. I'm not going to sign that. Come on, man. Really? It's like, you know me. I don't give a shit. And my dad just kind of played it off to the same thing. He's like, man, I'm not signing that shit. So that's whenever we leave. At that point, I'm getting ready to go back to Georgia. This is roughly 24 hours later. I get a phone call. It was one of my dad's employees. He's like, hey, man, what's going on? I was, nah, not much. Just headed back to work. He said, well, we can't get to work. So what do you mean? He's like, well, everything, they called it the barn where we had all of our equipment stationed, where they would meet before they would go to Fort Bragg. He said, the barn's locked up and everything's gone.
This is the same day?
No, this is 24 hours later.
Okay.
Whenever I'm getting ready to go back home. And I said, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, everything's gone. So I try to call my dad. I can't get up with him. I was like, just stand fast. I'm coming down there. So I get down there, and like you said, the barn's locked up. Everything down there that I could see. I mean, you can still go there to this day. You could see our staging area and how big it was and all the equipment that we had there. It's absolutely barren. There's nothing there. It's all gone. And my dad at the time lived just around the corner from there. I go up there to his house, and the door is kicked in. And like the video I showed you earlier downstairs, I did that to illustrate how close me and my father were. Because just telling the story from this point on, it sounds inconsequential. But like, oh, well, sons and fathers have problems all the time. It's no big deal for bad blood to take over, and just people can be too much like each other, bullheaded, and not be able to communicate. And that's why I showed you that, so you could see what kind of, I mean, I've called the damn guy my hero because he was. But I get in there, and my dad's sitting at his couch, and his office is just to the left of his living room, and everything is torn out. Everything is gone. And I was like, what's going on, man? He's like, it's all gone. I was like, do you think this had something to do with Range 19? And he stood up, that man you saw, and he said, don't you ever fucking mention that name to me again. And that was the last time that I got to spend any time face to face with my daddy. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's a life, a business, everything that we built together, and I got no answers. I had no excuses, no reasons, no answers whatsoever. Just unreturned phone calls. The few times I ever did get a chance to speak to him, it was only my voice being heard. He'd just hang up on me.
He'd hang up on you.
Yeah. I didn't, my God, it wasn't until 2021 that I got to see him again. I didn't get to.
He would just refuse to see you?
Yeah, absolutely. And it made me wonder, what could somebody threaten you with to make you turn your back on your own child? I don't know how many children you have, but I killed for my country. What in the hell do you think I would do for my babies? And I'm his only son. I'm his legacy. Every loan from the beginning of time to me is, if it stops with me, then that's where it stops. But he gave me that. To us, that was important. in, I cut my ties. I let it go where it's so hard to talk about, man. But let's get back to my part of that affects my career and why I was retired. It was
Is your dad still alive?
no, he's not.
When did he pass?
November 10th, 2021.
How?
Well, that's they said that he had aggressive cancer that they found late, that he was just ravaged. It was all over. And I know shit happens, as I'm no stranger to that. With our careers and all the guys in this room, none of us are strangers to things happening. We have a better way of accepting it than most people do, I think. But not him, not like that. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't get into that part of life. It's just, even some of it to me that I'm aware of irrefutably makes me feel like it's just absolutely insane. But I will never believe that my father died of cancer or natural causes. A man as big and as powerful as him, not because he couldn't have been taken. We're all measured. It was just he was healthy. And then in 2 months, he went from being 240 pounds to 105.
Wow.
Just, I mean, they called me and told me that he was in the hospital, and I went to go see him. I walked by his room twice. Honestly, the first thought that crossed my mind is that, man, I feel bad for that guy. That sucks. And then when they told me that's who it was, I went in, and he still couldn't even look at me. And I don't know why. And I took his hand. I said, look, man, I don't even know if you can talk. He had the chemo scars or some look like, I assume, were chemo burns on his mouth. It was just these gnarly burns on his face. And his eyes were just racked with jaundice. And I was like, man, we're square. I don't care what happened. I love you. And a tear went down his cheek, and I was asked to leave. He started to code, and that was the last time I saw him.